One of the key charts that we've been following on this channel is now suggesting that a big breakout is within the midst within the next week or so. With that said, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today with the chart of the day, as we like to say, and that rhymes, so you know that it's true. And more importantly, we have some very big things to be getting towards this week, especially as we close up the month of December and by extension, the year. So of course, before we get into this one, I want to once again encourage the people on this channel to comment in the comment section below, letting me know which names to be looking at, as we'll be going through a slew of altcoins today after getting through the chart of the day. And I should also let you know, if you're interested in a daily Bitcoin analysis, if you think that might be even relevant to your life or valuable to your life, I do exactly that on my own channel. And there's a link in the description below. Cool. All right. So I wanted to start it off here. This is actually on my own application. You can find it for free at app.crowntrading.net. And there is something of great interest right here, and that is the global leverage ratio. Now, we identified that it is essentially at pretty much all-time highs over the past few days. And I want to really match this up with when we get into the chart of the day in just a second here. But again, the leverage ratio represents the ratio between leveraged positions and spot positions. Leveraged positions are essentially positions that are put on leverage, meaning that they are typically futures or perpetual positions. And the reason why that is relevant to know, or why it matters, is because leveraged positions can be, of course, liquidated, which means that at a specific price point, that position will be forced to close. So if you are leveraged long, meaning that you bought on leverage, essentially, you will be forced to sell, and vice versa for if you were leveraged short, you will be forced to buy. Now, that is going to play into our chart of the day right here as we go back into the timing of this sort of consolidation. So we spoke about this about 4 weeks ago in early December after Bitcoin got down into that first drive at about $41,000 to $42,000, specifically on the 4th of December. And we said, hey, look, there is a specific history with Bitcoin in the aspect of how it plays out these consolidations, both on the accumulation and distributive phase. And we have noticed going back for the prior year, and of course we can go back further than this, that essentially the amount of days on the distributive phase is typically resolved by a similar amount of days on the accumulation phase. Let me demonstrate. Anyways, we have this first one over here. This is coming from January of this year, 11 days on the distributive highs right here, resolved by 11 days on the accumulation lows right here. And then of course, big bad moves the upside from 30,000 all the way up to, deep $50,000 territories, at which point we see another distributive phase. This one taking about 60 days on the highs from March to April, essentially, resolved in May. Bitcoin trends for a while after that. And where does it pick itself up? Well, it picks itself up in the $30,000 range over the course of 63 days, very comparable to the distributive phase over here. After that 63 days plays out, well, we have a nice bear trap right here. Zoom all the way up from 30,000 to 53,000, spending 14 days on this high over here, thus resolved on the other side by 10 days on the accumulation lows right here. Most recently, and of course on our current all-time high at about $69,000, great number as well, we do see that the distributive phase took about 26 days. So I wanted to follow up on this because we are very close to, what is essentially parity for these numbers. We are at 23 days right now. And let me just make sure that that's correct. So it is the 27th of December. We started on the 4th. So yeah, about 23 days right there. Beautiful. So, or maybe not so beautiful. Well, beautiful nonetheless. So I just wanted to follow up on this. And, a lot of the time on YouTube and Twitter and all these great social media venues, which are amazing, people talk about urgent, emergency, breakout, amazing. And realistically, as I've been saying on this channel for a while now, that's not actually the most likely thing to happen. Statistically speaking, these consolidation phases are very much relevant to each other, and it does intuitively make sense that a distributive phase of about 4 weeks is probably going to take 3 to 4 weeks to resolve on the other side. And now that we're 23 days into this accumulation phase right here, and sorry, yes, it is 23 days, just doing some bad mental math again. Had to double check myself right there. Just freshly out of the shower, by the way, in the sauna, eating some ribeye and some Finnish ground beef. It's really good, actually. Don't ask me why I eat both ribeye and ground beef, but fair enough. And so my point is that we're probably looking for resolution on this range. I wouldn't say today, perhaps it could be today, but very likely this week, as that will obviously encompass the full 26 days. Anywhere around there is probably good enough. Now, you can see a little bit of divergence between the numbers here. Again, this one's 60 days versus versus 63 days, and this one 14 versus 10. This one just happens to be equal on both ends over here. But in this particular instance, I would say any day this week probably is fair game, especially once we get towards that official 26-day number. Could it be a little bit more than that? Yes. Could it be a little bit less than that? Also, yes. And if I did have to call it out, probably around Tuesday or Wednesday, if I had to guess, just because that is typically the day with the highest volatility in this market, particularly from my statistical backtesting analysis. So what would essentially resolve this as a range, insinuate that this is our next major low in this case, would be a daily closure, as we've been saying, above the good zone at $52,000 region, insinuating test back up in towards the mid and upper $50,000 territories in the weeks to come. Specifically $57,000 to $59,000, of which that is the next major area to be aware of, with invalidations, of course, below about $50,000 at this point, or $49,500 if you want to be super exact. Okay, cool. Let's go through some altcoins then. We have Harmony over here, requested by the community. This one breaking out since the last time that we spoke about it on this channel, I believe, which was last week. We marked off this 26-cent region right here. We set a daily closure above there, very likely begets the next continuation phase. And in this case, I'm looking for this one to float back up towards its prior highs of late November over the following weeks from now. Invalidation on this is obviously going to be below about 24 cents. Until then, looking pretty damn good right there, if I do say so myself. Again, you will see some ebbs and flows in all of these names, but generally speaking, a nice and, well, good looking chart right there. Even some hidden bullish evidence on the weekly as well. Beautiful. All right, moving on to symbol CRV. This is one that we haven't spoken about in a long time on this channel. I think the last time we spoke about it was either late October, early November, and we've hit whatever target I had marked out over here, or just basically right around there at $6.50 or so. I actually still quite like this chart. The reason why is because you do see a long-term accumulation range below this level right here. That is your $3.50 level. You can see that it was retested many times in early December, which is fine, although I imagine that this probably threw a lot of people for a loop. But ultimately, holding a level like that above your prior range highs is typically a quite a good thing, and I would be looking for this one to actually trudge its way onwards and upwards over the long period of time, over this next month and a half from here, with the next major area of interest above the 650-ish region on a daily closure. Looking for targeted regions after that in the following weeks towards the $9 to $10 regions actually. Of course, invalidation on this would be below about $4.50 on a daily closure. Until then, well, one of the better charts, as it quite literally just closed on new highs on that rally. Beautiful. Sticks or stacks, I think, a symbol STX, whatever it is. And what do we have right here? Similar kind of to the last chart that we looked at, a nice healthy consolidation on a higher low fashion. Short term, looking for a move back up into this blue box territory, which is just shy of about $3. Any sort of a daily closure above $3, and at that point I would be looking for this one to really get going into the very likely shallow $4 range, and then we'll come back to it after that. In this case, invalidation, or what would essentially be bad, would be below about 2.25 on a daily. Moving on to symbol HTR. Hathor has a cool name, I guess, but what do we have right here? Well, we have yet again another higher low. Crazy how that works. And I don't think that we've ever charted this one on this channel, maybe just on my personal channel, but fair enough. Pretty easy chart right here. As long as it's above about 169, great. I am looking for this one to float upwards and onwards over the following weeks with targets in mind towards about 240 to 260-ish region, and then we come back after that. Below 169, very bad, obviously, would imply moves back down towards, $1.40, $1.50 or so. But I'd want to see that in real time before we speak about anything more of that nature. Again, on the weekly, looking more or less good here for the long term, but long term does mean, of course, long term. All right, moving on to AVAX, symbol AVAX, and same chart as before, still looking at the 127.25 level as the major breakout region with any sort of a 12-hour or daily closure above there. I am looking for first a general move back up towards your prior highs at about $1.45 or so. Very likely a short-term pullback after that. I would be on higher low watch, but there is a measured move, an implied target to be made off of a break and closure above 127.25, which does point higher, very likely resolved in the following weeks upon that confirmation to the about 165 to 170-ish region. Of course, invalidation on this one would be very easily below about 110. That would be bad, but for right now, in a very good position of power, and well, setting up for a good closure to the end of 2021. And that brings us to our last chart over here. That is going to be Solana. We spoke about this one maybe yesterday and the day before. Regardless of that, we do see it clearly and cleanly closing above our topside region of that confirmation area from yesterday. So this is actually a really good one to be following up for today. We said our next target after that would have been the 210 to 211.5 region, which we are en route to right now. Probably a little bit of a short-term pullback around that region, and likely sets up for a higher low and continuation into early 2022 with targets at around 230 based off of the technical formation right here. Invalidation, of course, below 190, but I thought that this was a very interesting chart to follow up on because, well, it's quite literally doing it in front of your very face. Very simple setup right there. Not meaning that it's always going to work out, but you can see the edge. You can see that these things work and operate in real time here. So with all of that said, I think that's a good place to leave off this particular video. I want to be once again encouraging you to let me know in the comment section below what names you're looking at. And yeah, I think with that said, I would like to wish you the best. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.